The door of the Iron Horse Diner on the M1 motorway burst open with brutal violence, sending the small brass bell above it shattering into 1,000 pieces against the doorframe. A little girl, Lily Davies, staggered inside. Barefoot on the shards of glass, her vibrant yellow dress, once bright, was torn at the shoulder and smeared with dirt. Her breath came in ragged gasps, her chest heaving with panic. Her eyes, wide and filled with a terror that seemed too heavy for her childlike face, swept the room. "Please," she whispered, her voice almost inaudible. But then, with growing desperation, she cried louder, "Please, someone, he's coming." The lunchtime hum had just faded, leaving behind an almost deafening silence. Only 5 souls remained in the roadside diner. Maureen Mo Higgins, the owner, methodical in her routine, wiped down tables with precise movements, each gesture a reflection of years of work. On the other side, 2 lorry drivers tried to delay the road with their 3rd steaming cups of coffee. In the furthest corner, 3 bikers, their heavy leather vests bearing the emblem of the Iron Horseman MC, watched. Suddenly, the world seemed to stop. Hawk, the group's tacit leader, a man whose face, sculpted by sun and road, told stories of over 50 years of hard living, slowly put down his fork. His eyes, though weary, held an unusual glint of sharpness. Beside him, Grizz, a silent giant, had a body as massive as a fridge and a graying beard that descended to his chest, filling the space. The third, Scar, the youngest, displayed the marks of an accident 2 years prior, with scars that snaked across his forearm. Lily Davies' desperate eyes danced between them, searching, evaluating. Finally, they settled on the bikers. In that instant, something subtle shifted in her expression. It wasn't exactly relief, but rather a flicker of recognition, as if she, against all odds, had found precisely what she was looking for. "Girl," Maureen began, taking a cautious step towards Lily, concern furrowing her brow. "Are you—" Lily shook her head with a violence that mirrored her terror. "He's coming now. Please." A loud scrape of a chair cut the air as Hawk stood, the sound of his boots dragging on the lino. His voice, when it came, was low, grave, yet laden with an unshakable calm. It was the kind of timbre that, amidst panic, makes people breathe again. "Who's coming?" "Dr. Finch," she replied, her voice choked, breaking as she uttered the name. He said no one would believe me, that I'd be making it all up." At that precise instant, the diner door opened again. A man entered, his posture controlled and casual, almost like an actor stepping onto a stage. He wore smart chinos and an immaculate polo shirt, exuding an aura of respect and order. His graying, well-combed hair, along with a rehearsed, apologetic smile, radiated a forced respectability. A gleaming wedding ring caught the fluorescent light of the room. "There you are, Lily," he said, his tone unctuous, slippery as honey. A false relief coated every word. "My dear, you had me so worried." Lily, however, recoiled, pressing herself against the counter. A repeated, vehement, "No, no, no, no," was her only response. The man's gaze swept the room, assessing each face for a brief instant, before settling on Maureen. "I'm so sorry for the disturbance," he added, his voice soft. "My daughter gets confused sometimes. She has episodes." Hawk remained motionless, but his presence seemed to expand, filling every corner of the room, a menacing quietude. "Is that right?" His question hung in the air, more a statement than an interrogation. The man, Dr. Alistair Finch, turned to Hawk, extending his hand with a confident gesture. "Dr. Alistair Finch," he introduced himself. "I'm a safeguarding lead at Ashwood Academy. Lily is under my care at the school. She has a few behavioral issues, poor thing. Sometimes when she gets overwhelmed, she tends to run off." No one shook his hand, no one moved. The silence was dense, almost palpable. Grizz at the corner of the bench made a slight movement. His massive body, previously relaxed, now radiated a contained, alert tension. Scar's fingers tapped once on the table, a dry sound, then stopped, rigid. Lily's voice, almost a whisper, cut the quietude. But in the intensity of that moment, every word resonated clearly. "He's lying." Dr. Finch's smile hardened, a thin mask of cordiality cracking. "Lily, please, we've talked about this. Making up stories helps no one, you know." Maureen looked from one to the other, uncertainty clouding her face. She was lost between the man's impeccable appearance and the girl's undeniable terror. "Sir, perhaps we should call the school," Lily interjected suddenly, the urgency in her voice clear and without prevarication. "Call Headmistress Vance. She knows me. She knows I don't lie." Dr. Finch chuckled, but there was something hollow and forced about it, a sound that didn't reach his eyes. Of course. However, the school day finished hours ago. Headmistress Vance is likely home by now." He took a step forward, a calculated movement. "Come along, my dear. Your parents are sick with worry." "My parents are in Birmingham," Lily retorted, her voice now firmer, gaining a surprising resilience. "At my grandmother's funeral. That's why you chose today." The air in the diner changed. It wasn't an abrupt alteration, but a subtle yet undeniable transformation, weighing on everyone. Hawk's eyes narrowed dangerously. "Chose today for what?" Dr. Finch's smile didn't waver, maintaining his facade of calm. "Look, I appreciate your concern, but this is a family matter." "I'm not his family," Lily burst out, a wave of desperation and indignation. "I'm nobody's family right now. That's precisely the point." She then fixed her gaze on Hawk, the words spilling out fast, a torrent of fear and truth. "He's been watching me all year, ever since my parents started working late. He offers to take children home. He takes the ones nobody's paying attention to." Her voice faltered. A tenuous thread of courage snapped, but the truth had to be told. He had taken Chloe Davies. 3 long weeks had passed since then. She hadn't returned to Ashwood Academy. Everyone said the girl had moved away, but Lily knew it wasn't true. She saw Chloe's unmistakable rucksack, a small glaring detail inside his car. A biting cold spread through the room, as if the temperature had plummeted 10 degrees in an instant. Dr. Finch's expression shifted for an almost imperceptible second. For a fleeting instant, the safeguarding lead's mask slipped. What was revealed, a chilling glimpse, was pure cold calculation and veiled cruelty. Then, as quickly as it appeared, the mask snapped back into place. "This is preposterous," Dr. Finch vociferated, trying to regain control. "Lily, you are getting yourself into serious, grave trouble with these baseless accusations." Without a word, Scar rose, his robust figure subtly blocking the exit. There was no explicit threat, just an undeniable presence, a human wall. Beside him, Grizz also moved, his gaze fixed, his voice, a rough rumble like gravel being dragged, cut through the air. "Seems the girl is quite specific for someone who is supposedly just confused, isn't she?" Dr. Finch's jaw clenched, a muscle jumping in his pale face. "I do not appreciate what you are implying here in the slightest," he retorted, his voice taking on a tone of false indignation. "I am a respected educator, a pillar of the community. I've dedicated 15 years of my life to working with children at risk," Hawk intervened, his voice calm, yet loaded with silent authority. "Then, Dr. Finch, I imagine you wouldn't mind if we called the headmistress, would you? What was her name again?" "Headmistress Eleanor Vance. It's late, but we have her mobile number." Though Hawk's voice remained tranquil, controlled, his hand instinctively dropped to his belt. Not in search of a weapon, he carried none. It was simply the posture of a man on alert, ready for any sudden move. "Mo, the telephone, please," Hawk requested. Already holding the handset, visibly nervous, Mo's voice wavered, her hands trembling slightly. "What's the school's name, love?" "Ashwood Academy," Lily whispered, urgency heavy in each syllable. "Please, quickly." Dr. Alistair Finch's already fragile facade crumbled further. Panic was almost palpable in his voice. "This is harassment. I can and will have you all arrested for interfering with the rights of a guardian." "Guardian?" Scar questioned, his first intervention, his regional accent cutting through the air with crystalline clarity. "I thought you were just an advisor. They're quite different roles, aren't they?" Dr. Alistair Finch's eyes flashed, a glimmer of calculation as he assessed the 3 men of the Iron Horseman MC. His hand, almost imperceptibly, began to slide towards his pocket. But Hawk was quicker. It wasn't a violent movement, just a precise, decisive interception. Hawk's hand encased Dr. Alistair Finch's wrist with unshakable firmness. "Let's keep hands where everyone can see them, Dr. Finch," Hawk instructed, his voice devoid of emotion. Dr. Alistair Finch tried to pull free, fury in his eyes. "Get your hands off me. This is assault." Suddenly Grizz was there, his imposing bulk making the surrounding space perceptibly shrink. "The funny thing about all this, Dr. Finch," Grizz continued, his voice still that gravelly whisper, "is that you haven't shown us any identification. You haven't proven who you really are, and the lass here says you're not her guardian. Looks like we've got ourselves a rather sticky situation, wouldn't you say?" From the Iron Horse Diner by the M1 motorway behind the counter, Mo's voice echoed, somewhat muffled, yet audible. "Hello. Guess I'm looking for Headmistress Vance, please. It's an urgent matter concerning one of her pupils, Lily Davies." Maureen Mo Higgins paused, tense, the phone pressed to her ear, listening intently. The blood seemed to drain from her face, leaving it chalk white. "She's been... Since when?" she whispered, pausing again. "I see. Yes. I'll hold the line. Lily Davies." Her voice almost inaudible, her heart pounding, asked, "What did she say, Mo?" Mo lowered the receiver, covering it with her hand, her eyes wide. "Headmistress Eleanor Vance. She filed a missing persons report this morning." Her voice barely a whisper. "Lily Davies didn't show up at Ashwood Academy and they couldn't reach her parents. They called the emergency contact, Dr. Alistair Finch. He said he would go to her house to check on the situation. The revelation dropped into the room like a stone, and a deadly silence fell, heavy and oppressive. The transformation in Dr. Alistair Finch's expression was complete, chilling. All rehearsed warmth, the friendly persona, instantly evaporated, revealing something unspeakably colder, harder, darker. "You have no idea what you're doing," Dr. Alistair Finch spat, control finally slipping. "We're quite sure we do," Hawk replied with chilling calm, his voice low, almost a murmur. His grip on the man's wrist hadn't loosened a millimeter. "Mo," Hawk instructed, without taking his eyes off Dr. Alistair Finch, "tell the headmistress to call the police immediately. Inform them that Lily Davies is with us and is safe, and tell them to hurry, very much so." "I'm doing that already," Mo confirmed, her voice still trembling slightly, but with a new and surprising firmness. It was then that Dr. Alistair Finch smiled. And that smile had nothing, absolutely nothing, of the false cordiality he had worn moments before. It was a cruel, predatory smile, a terrifying void that seemed to suck all the light from the room. "Do you really think this matters?" he sneered, his voice dripping with scorn. "Do you imagine the word of a frightened little girl against mine carries any weight? I am an unshakable pillar of this community, a respected safeguarding lead who dedicates his life to children. I am a member of the Ashwood Academy's Board of Governors, and you?" He swept the bikers with a look of pure, unmistakable contempt. "You are nobodies, likely criminals. Do you think anyone in their right mind will believe you instead of me?" Hawk's voice dropped, sharp as ice, calm replaced by calculated coldness. "We don't need them to believe me," he retorted, each word a strike. "We need them to believe her. And more importantly, we need them to look closely enough to uncover what you've been hiding, what you've truly hidden." Something, a flash too quick to discern, flickered in Dr. Alistair Finch's eyes. Fear, perhaps, or a final, desperate attempt at calculation. Lily, with a newfound courage, spoke again. Her voice, still small, was now strangely clear, echoing in the room's tension. "He has an abandoned Unit 42 at the old Sawmill Industrial Estate, that place near the M1 motorway. He had no idea I saw the key. It dropped from his pocket during art class. I memorized the number." Her voice faltered again, choked by pain and memory. Because Chloe used to be my friend." The confession, raw and desolate, hung in the air like a cloud of smoke, dense and inescapable. Suddenly Dave, one of the truckers who had been watching in shock, moved. His coffee, until then untouched, was completely forgotten. "I'm blocking the car park," he announced, his voice hoarse, already heading outside. "No one leaves here until the police arrive." His voice was firm, unwavering. Gary, the second trucker, gave a heavy nod, reinforcing the decision. "I'll help," he added, an echo of determination. Suddenly, Dr. Alistair Finch lunged. An unexpected burst of speed caught everyone by surprise. He managed to break free from Hawk's grip, shoving Lily violently backward. She stumbled, unbalanced, and hit the counter with a dull thud. For an instant, her small frame seemed to crumple, but Scar was already there, lightning fast, catching her before she fell completely. Dr. Alistair Finch darted towards the door. He'd barely taken 3 strides when Griz's powerful arm intercepted him with a precise blow. The impact was brutal. Dr. Alistair Finch crashed to the floor with a sickening thud, the air violently expelled from his lungs in a choked grunt. For an instant, he lay there, stunned and breathless, pain radiating through his body. Hawk was on him instantly. With a firm knee planted in his back, he wrenched the man's arms behind him, immobilizing him. "Don't move," Hawk said. His voice carried no rage, no fury, only a cold, unquestionable certainty. Dr. Alistair Finch struggled, screaming obscenities. "This is assault. I'll sue every single one of you." "You have no right," Grizz snarled in response, his voice grave and deep. "Right or wrong, you're not going anywhere." The tense silence was broken by Mo's clear voice. "The police will be here in 2 minutes. They're sending multiple units," she announced, the information cutting the air like a knife. Lily remained frozen. Scar's hand still steadied her, a constant anchor on her shoulder, the connection keeping her grounded. Then finally the tears came. Silent at first, they soon traced warm, unchecked rivers down Lily Davies' streaked, tear-stained face. It was no longer the paralyzing grip of fear that made her weep, nor the cold apprehension of imminent danger. It was something profoundly deeper, a dam shattering within her core, liberating a cascading torrent of grief, pain, and overwhelming relief held back for too long. "You did a good job, lass," Scar murmured softly, his rough voice imbued with an unexpected, almost paternal tenderness. "Really good work indeed." "He said no one would ever believe me," she whispered, her voice thick with unshed tears. "He told me I was nobody, that my parents had abandoned me, so it didn't matter." Hawk's gaze settled upon her, unwavering, as he kept Dr. Alistair Finch pinned to the grimy linoleum. "You were mistaken about one crucial thing," he stated, his voice a low rumble. Lily blinked through the veil of her tears. "You said you're nobody's family now." His gruff voice softened, revealing an unshakable, fierce loyalty. "The road looks after its own. It's been that way for travelers like us since before you were born. You ran to us, sought our help when you had nowhere else to turn. That, Lily, makes us your protectors. Nobody touches you while we're breathing. Nobody." Suddenly, sirens wailed, a distant cry that grew sharper and intensely piercing. Dr. Alistair Finch lay utterly motionless, his disgraced face pressed hard against the cold, greasy linoleum, his breath coming in ragged, shallow gasps. When he finally spoke, his voice was a barely audible, defeated whisper. "You don't understand. There are others. People who will—" Grizz cut him off, his voice devoid of bluster, delivering a cold, direct declaration. "Then they can come find us. We'll be waiting." The police arrived in an overwhelming tempest of flashing blue and red lights, a disorienting whirlwind of urgent sound. 4 patrol cars and 2 unmarked detective vehicles screeched to a halt, engulfing the Iron Horse Diner, beside the M1 motorway, with uniformed officers. They moved with standardized procedures, firing insistent questions. Through the commotion, the grizzled bikers remained steadfastly close to Lily Davies. They didn't speak for her, nor interfere, yet their presence was a profound, silent force. An impenetrable living wall of worn leather and gleaming steel, erected between a traumatized child and a world that had in devastating ways utterly failed her. Detective Inspector Sarah O'Malley, her demeanor a blend of gentle assurance and unquestionable professionalism, began taking Lily's statement. Lily's voice perceptibly strengthened as she spoke, the harrowing details, locked away for months, finally flowing in an unstoppable cascade. She vividly described the meticulous way Dr. Alistair Finch had systematically isolated vulnerable pupils, volunteered for enticing after-school programs, routinely offered lifts, and insidiously built a false, treacherous trust. She courageously revealed how he had made her feel utterly alone, that speaking up would only cause immense trouble, and that adults would never believe children like her. "Chloe Davies," Lily Davies said again, her palpable insistence in her voice. "Unit 42, Old Sawmill Industrial Estate. Please, you need to check. She might still be there." Detective Inspector Sarah O'Malley nodded, already on the radio, relaying the information with urgency. "We are sending units now." An hour later, when they located Unit 42, Old Sawmill Industrial Estate, and broke through its protective lock, the team found much more than they were prepared to see. Not just evidence. Chloe Davies was there, alive, though dehydrated and traumatized, but breathing. And beyond her, extensive documentation of other victims, names, locations, revealing a grim network that stretched far beyond a single man, beyond a single town. The shocking breadth of the discovery saw news vans begin to arrive by sunset. Throughout this whirlwind, the bikers remained. They gave their statements, answered all questions, and endured the skeptical gazes of some officers who saw only their cuts and made quick assumptions. But Detective Inspector Sarah O'Malley knew better. She had been on the force long enough to understand that heroism did not concern itself with appearances. When Lily Davies's parents finally arrived, having caught the first flight back from Birmingham, her mother collapsed to her knees in the Iron Horse Diner's car park, embracing her daughter with a strength that promised never to let her go again. Lily Davies' father, tears streaming down his face, remained standing behind them, his voice choked, unable to utter a single word. Lily Davies pulled away slightly, just enough to point in the direction of the motorcyclists. "They saved me. He was right there and they didn't let him take me away." Lily Davies' father approached Hawk, his hand extended, his voice laden with emotion. "My God, thank you so much. Thank you so very much. If you hadn't..." Hawk gripped his hand once firmly, a gesture that spoke volumes. "Your daughter saved herself. She was the one with the courage to speak, to remember the important details, to be brave enough to run. We merely got in the way." "Even so," Lily Davies' mother interrupted, wiping her tear-filled eyes. "You stayed. You could have simply turned your backs, but you stayed." Grizz shifted, uncomfortable. He wasn't used to such gratitude. "What else could we have done?" Scar smiled faintly, a glint in his eyes. "It's what we do. The road has its own code of honor." As the sun set majestically behind the Iron Horse Diner on the M1 motorway, painting the sky with vibrant hues of orange and purple, Detective Inspector Sarah O'Malley approached the Iron Horseman once more. "Unit 42, Old Sawmill Industrial Estate held evidence of 17 victims," she revealed in a hushed tone. 17. Some cases go back over 5 years, and without Lily Davies' testimony, without you keeping him here. She did not need to finish the sentence. The implication was clear, and the gravity undeniable. Hawk merely nodded, a brief, silent movement. "You know his defense solicitor will try to paint you as the aggressors," Detective Inspector O'Malley continued, her voice slightly graver. "Dr. Alistair Finch is already claiming intimidation, false imprisonment." "Let him claim what he will," Grizz retorted firmly. "The truth is the truth, and it always prevails." Detective Inspector O'Malley offered a somber smile. "Indeed, and we have the security camera footage from the Iron Horse Diner on the M1 motorway, which tells the full story, plus the statements of 6 witnesses." He's finished. The Iron Horsemen mounted their machines as the night's darkness began to descend. Lily Davies remained there, between her parents, nestled in her mother's arms, watching as they prepared to depart. "Wait!" she cried, her voice thin and urgent. They halted. Lily Davies ran, small and nimble, and placed something in Hawk's hand. It was a drawing made on the reverse of a diner napkin. 3 motorcycles, 3 imposing riders, and a tiny figure standing amongst them, protected. Above her, in carefully drawn letters, read, "Heroes." Hawk fixed his gaze upon the drawing for a long moment, absorbing every detail. Then, with an almost reverent care, he folded it and placed it into the pocket of his leather waistcoat. "Keep being that brave lass, Lily Davies. The world needs more folk like you." "Will I see you again?" she inquired, hope shimmering in her childlike eyes. He smiled. That simple gesture softened the lines etched by time upon his weathered face. The road is long, little one, and it crosses paths more often than one might imagine. The engines roared, awakening with a deep, potent sound, filling the night air. As they rejoined the M1 motorway, Scar cast a final glance back towards the diner. The locale now gleamed with lights, still pulsating with people, with purpose, and with the justice that was finally being rendered. "Do you think she'll be all right?" he asked over the radio, his voice tinged with genuine concern. "She spoke up when it mattered most," Hawk replied, certainty in his voice. "That kind of strength doesn't just vanish. Aye, she'll be all right." Grizz grunted his agreement, a deep sound from his helmet. "Better than all right. That lass has fire in her eyes." They set off into the night. 3 imposing silhouettes against the darkening sky, with no fixed destination in mind, just following the white lines that stretched out endlessly ahead. Behind them, the Iron Horse Diner on the M1 motorway shrank on the horizon, but the weight of what had happened there stayed with them. It wasn't an oppressive burden, but rather a renewed sense of purpose. If this story touched your heart, if it made you see heroism in a new light, then we invite you to join the Highwayman's Tales community. Give us a like, share this account, and subscribe so you don't miss other stories that celebrate courage in all its forms, proving it's not measured by size or age, and that the smallest voices often carry the most powerful messages. And you? Tell us in the comments. Have you witnessed something remarkable that others overlooked? Your story could be the inspiration someone needs to hear. Months later, Hawk received an unexpected correspondence. The postmark was from Birmingham, the handwriting on the letter, careful and intentional. Inside the envelope, a photograph. The image showed Lily, radiant between her parents at a community event. She was holding an award, Headmistress Eleanor Vance's Medal of Courage. Her smile was genuine, reaching her eyes, the expression of a child whose childhood had been restored. Behind the photograph there was a delicately folded note. "Dear Hawk, Grizz, and Scar," the message began. Because of what happened, they investigated the entire school district of Ashwood Academy. They found 2 more people like Dr. Alistair Finch. Everyone's going to prison for a really, really long time. Detective Inspector Sarah O'Malley said I helped save 23 children just by being brave enough to speak up. Oh, and my parents got me a dog. Her name's Harley. My mum said I could choose any name I wanted. Thank you for standing up when you could have just sat down. Thank you for listening to me, when it would have been so easy to ignore me. And above all, thank you for believing in me, even when he told me no one would. I promise to be brave every day, exactly as you taught me. Your friend, Lily. P.S. I'm learning to ride a bike. Maybe one day I'll have my own motorcycle too. Hawk read the letter twice, its earnest candor seeping into every line. Then, with a deliberate gesture, he passed it to Grizz and Scar. The trio occupied their usual spot, their corner, yet in a different diner, a new town along another stretch of that ceaseless motorway. Still, some things remained constant: the steaming coffee, the open road that beckoned, and of course, the unspoken code that bound them. "Kid's doing good," Scar remarked, handing the letter back. "More than just good, truly," Grizz rumbled, his voice a low growl of agreement. Hawk, with almost ritualistic precision, folded the letter and tucked it into his waistcoat, right beside that faded napkin drawing. The road had provided what was needed. That was all that mattered. Outside, their machines awaited, chrome gleaming under the afternoon sun. The motorway stretched in both directions, infinite possibility, endless miles. Somewhere in its vast expanse, someone else might need aid. Someone else might run to them, desperate and afraid. And when that moment arrived, they would be ready. Because that was precisely what the road did. It brought the lost to those who would never turn their backs. It connected strangers in moments of profound crisis. It forged families from necessity, from courage, and from the simple, unwavering act of standing firm. They settled their bill, left a generous tip, and walked into the bright sunlight. The engines roared to life, a vibrant, guttural symphony that spoke of freedom and purpose in equal measure. It was the very melody of their lives. As they merged onto the motorway, Hawk reflected on Lily's final sentence. Perhaps one day I'll have my own motorcycle too. He wondered if she truly would ride. Perhaps she would find her own road, her own code, her own moments where standing tall was more vital than merely staying safe. The thought brought a discreet smile to his lips. "Where to now, boss?" Scar asked over the comms. Hawk gazed at the horizon where the road merged with the sky in an unending line. "Forward," he answered. "Always forward." And so they rode, 3 riders against the immensity, carrying with them the weight of a child's courage and the vital reminder that heroism resided not in size, nor in brute strength, nor in the absence of fear. It was in being present, in placing oneself between the vulnerable and those who wished them ill. It was in believing the unbelievable and in protecting the helpless. The road, in its essence, was endless, yet every mile mattered, every moment of presence, of clarity, of readiness to act when action was called for. These were the moments that changed lives, that saved them. Lily had reminded them of this, a tiny girl with bare feet and a torn yellow dress, running towards a diner, carrying only despair and a flicker of hope. She had chosen them. She had trusted them, believed they would stand firm when she needed it most, and they had. The miles stretched ahead, brimming with unknown tomorrows. But for now, in that very moment, 3 riders traversed the world, carrying the living proof that heroes come in all sizes, that courage can be found in the smallest hearts, and that sometimes the most important thing a person can do is simply refuse to look away. The road called, and they answered. And somewhere just behind them, a little girl named Lily was learning to be brave, day after day. Thank you for watching. If this story touched you, reminding you to trust your instincts, to speak up when something feels wrong, and never to underestimate the power of attentiveness, please share it. Subscribe to the Highwayman's Tales for more stories that prove heroes are everywhere, that courage manifests in countless forms, and that at times, the quietest person in the room can have the biggest impact. Tell us in the comments, what would you have done in Lily's place?